Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Nance Farm Virtual Chat and Farm Tour. I am Brittany with the Discover Dairy Program, and we are so excited that you are joining us today as we get to meet Farmer Caci and, of course, our adorable adopted calves, Moon Pie, Liberty, Polly, and Timber. Today's tour wouldn't be possible without the generous support of the Dairy Alliance and the Dairy Excellence Foundation. So thank you to both of those organizations for making today possible. First, this live tour is part of the Adopt a Cow program. And for anyone that is new to Discover Dairy and the Adopt a Cow program, it is a free online resource that covers Common Core standards in math, reading, and science, all while using dairy concepts to teach those lessons. Those resources can be found at www.discoverdairy.com. We'd also love for you to join the Adopt a Cow program next year. So if you want to join the fun, or this is your first time just kind of hopping in on the live tour and you'd like to join the fun for the first time, we welcome you to do that. Registration will begin on August 1st, and you'll be able to sign up at discoverdairy.com/adopt. And we'll go ahead and put that in the live chat feature there for you. So it's, again, discoverdairy.com/adopt. Next, as everyone continues to join us live today, you will see that the chat feature is enabled. Please feel free to use that chat feature to comment and ask questions throughout the tour. But we do, and this is very important, we do ask that you keep all of the questions and comments related to the tour, and please remember to keep it school appropriate. We are excited to hear your questions, and I know Farmer Caci is very happy to answer them. So while we're talking about that live chat, we're going to go ahead and just check out who is all joining us today. And I can see it's absolutely just filled with lots of people, which is very, very exciting. So we have, let's see, some classes from Beaufort, South Carolina, who's here for Liberty. We have some kindergarteners who are joining us. We have some folks from Winsboro, South Carolina. We've got some classes. We've got a fourth grade class, Miss Rolling's fourth grade class from Sumter. Can't wait to see Moon Pie. We're excited for you to see Moon Pie too. Let's scroll down a little bit further here. Mrs. Reed's third grade class from Florence, South Carolina. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. And let's pick out two more here. So we've got Miss Harvey's first grade class. Hello, everyone. Welcome. And Mrs. Martinez's class, also from Beaufort, South Carolina. So welcome, everyone. We're really excited you guys are all joining us today. Continue to feel free to use that live chat, ask any great questions. We're happy to answer them. We'll answer them throughout the tour, but we'll also do a Q&A portion at the end. All right, so with that, I am pleased to introduce you to Farmer Caci in McConnells, South Carolina at Nance Farm. Hey, Farmer Caci, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Brittany. I hope everyone is doing well today. And we are so excited to have all of you join us and to look at your adopted calves and learn a little bit more about dairy farming in South Carolina. We are a small but mighty state. We have less than 30 dairy farms in our state. So we all know each other for the most part, and we all get to share different ideas and things. But that's not what you're here for. You want to see your calves. And so here are your calves in their new pen to give them a little bit more room. Since they've gotten bigger, they needed a little bit more room to grow and to run around. And so we gave them a little bit more space. So we have Polly right here for everyone who had Polly as adopted calf. We have Moon Pie, who is going to walk through her feed trough right now. And over there in the corner, the big white one who's eating hay is Liberty. And then right there, Timber just turned around against the gate right there. So they're all here. They're all growing. You know that they've gotten a lot bigger than they were when you first saw them. And some of them have definitely hit a growth spurt, just like some of you might have over the year. So we are excited for them all to be here and for you to get to see them all. Let's see if we can get them to show off for you and walk around. So everybody who had Moon Pie, here's Moon Pie. And there went running Timber. And Polly's coming through.
Looks like she's coming in for some breakfast.
Oh, yes, they're enjoying. They have in their feed trough, they have um, some calf feed and some silage. If you can see, there's some grain in here for them, and then there's some silage. And silage is a green cut. For us, it's a small grain, and we cut it when it's green, so it hasn't matured yet. And we put it into a big pit that we'll look at later and let it ferment. And they really, really enjoy it. It's like candy to them.
Oh my goodness. So that's what they're eating right now, correct? Are they
That is
eating
what they're
anything
eating.
else?
They also kind of eat their hay that is their bedding, but for the most part, they eat their calf feed and their silage, and that makes them happy.
Awesome. And how much water about are they drinking at this point?
So they are drinking not quite 30 gallons of water a day per calf, probably because we have 2 tubs here, and they were just filled up maybe an hour ago, and they're already halfway empty. And these 2 tubs are both about 15 gallons each. So the kids fill them up twice a day. So you figure each calf is drinking at least 15 gallons, if not more, a day.
Wow, that's a lot of water. I think I'd float away if I drank that much water. But
I know I would. I know I would.
so they obviously though they're drinking a lot of water, they're eating a lot of food, so that must mean they're getting awfully big. So about how big are each of them? About how much are they weighing and everything like that?
So the last time we took a weight, um, make sure I get it right. All of them. Polly was the smallest, which she's going to be because that's just going to be her frame size. And she was hitting right about 300 pounds. Moon Pie was next. And Moon Pie was weighing about 315, 320. She wasn't a whole lot bigger. But when you jump, not, yeah, Moon Pie. When you jumped up to Timber, had jumped up a lot in weight and was almost 350. And then Liberty over here apparently has been eating all the feed because she was hitting 375 when we weighed her last time. So
Oh my goodness.
she has gained about 275 pounds since she joined the program.
Wow. Oh my goodness. I feel like we just got a chance to meet them. I feel like they were just born. They were not even 100 pounds. They were just these cute little wobbly laid calves. And now they just look so big and they are growing nice and strong and weighing a lot more than any of us. That's for sure.
Yes, yes, they do. They weigh a lot more than each of us. And they are, when they were first born, I had my kindergartner in the pen with them, and she was taller than every one of them when they were born. Now they're taller than she is.
Oh my goodness. And it's just
So
in
if
a few short months. How old are they at this point now?
so 2 of them were born in late September. So 7, 8 months. Is that
Yeah,
right? I'm counting
I think
7, eight
so.
months.
October,
And
November.
then 2 of them
Yeah.
were born in October, so they're 6 months.
Wonderful. Oh my goodness. So just in a few short months, they are approaching 400 pounds. They'll be there shortly. And
Yes.
they're what, about 3.5, 4 feet tall or so? Is that what?
Probably, yes. I would say Liberty is probably 4 feet tall.
Oh my
um,
goodness.
she has definitely shot up and got a lot of legs on her, and and she likes to kick up those heels with those legs too.
Oh, wonderful. So actually that brings up, so you said kicking up those heels. We had some folks asking, what do they like to do for fun? Specifically they were asking about Liberty, but what do the cows like to do for fun? What do they do all day?
So most of the day, if they're not standing up and nibbling on hay, or kind of investigating each other, then they're either taking a nap, and first thing in the morning before they eat, they like to run around while you're bringing them their feed. So they get excited, just like you might get excited for breakfast when your mom makes pancakes. They get excited when we bring them their feed in the mornings, and they like to run around and kick up their heels. When we put fresh bedding in the pen for them, then it's like they're at a skate party or a bouncy house, and they are bouncing all over the pen, and they're jumping up and down, and they're just excited, um, not only for the bedding, but just because it's something new. Just like you enjoy a new toy, they enjoy new and fresh bedding.
Yeah.
Um, it's for them, it's not the same feeling as clean sheets. It's more like a bouncy house.
Right. Yeah, that definitely there is just something so cute about it when you put fresh bedding in and you just watch them romp around. It's like they're kids again. And they'll do it even when they're, a 5-year-old cow. If they
Yes.
go into a fresh bedded pen, they love it. It's a lot of fun for them.
Yes, and sometimes during the winter when it rains a lot, we will keep our milk cows. We give them the option to stay in a barn that is bedded very similar to the calf pen right now. And when you roll out that bale of hay, those big cows that are, 1,500 to 2,000 pounds are jumping around. They're helping you spread out the bale of hay. And it's like a really big, excited yellow lab who just got out of the bathtub. They are definitely young at heart, even if they're not young in age.
Right. Absolutely. Oh my goodness, they are just so darn cute, and I know we're all loving getting to see them. I'm just trying to look through some of these questions here quick. I know we see all these great questions coming in. Thank you so much, everyone. We are excited to do our best to get to all of them. Some of them are going to be covered later on in the tour, so if we don't ask it right now, it's because you'll find out later. But while we're here with these ladies for now, just as a recap, I know we had a couple other questions coming in, and just want to make sure everyone knows. So they're about 6 to 7 months old. They're about 350 pounds. They're about 3.5 to 4 feet tall. I know some folks were joining us a little bit late, so we're just recapping for you. We said about 15 gallons of water and probably what about 5-10 pounds of feed or more that they're eating a day.
They probably eat. They get fed twice a day, so I'd probably say close to 10 pounds, and then they also get approximately, for all four of them, about 30 pounds of silage.
Okay.
Now they don't necessarily clean all of that silage up at one time. That's a lot of candy to eat all at one sitting.
Sure, that is. No, absolutely. Um, we have a question come in. They've been kind of all hanging out here in the pen together. They're clearly friends because they all hang out and love each other. How do you know when they play with each other? Like, what do cows look like when they play? I know we talked about kicking up their heels, but do they interact with each other at all?
They do some, and you can definitely tell that some of them are more comfortable with each other. They have buddies. Is how I would put it. You have the buddy system when you go on a field trip, and the calves kind of do the same thing. They buddy up a little bit, and Polly and Liberty actually buddy up a lot. And for them, when they play, they might push each other around. They don't have hands to pass footballs or to jump rope, so they kind of push each other around and will pick up a handful of hay or some feed and toss it at each other. And a lot of times you'll catch them all cuddled up with each other too.
Oh,
Not because it's cold, but just because that's their comfort.
right, right. And it sounds like they might like to have food fights, picking up feed and throwing it at each other.
They do. They like to make messes.
Yeah, yes, and that's what you're there for, Farmer Caci, to help keep them clean. So, we had some questions coming in. They're wondering, and I know we'll talk a little bit about this process later, so we don't have to go in detail now. But they were asking, do they produce milk right now?
No, they do not. These are still calves. And so to produce milk, a cow has to have had a calf. So their moms are producing milk for us right now. And as they grow and get older, then they will have their own calves in somewhere between 18 months and 2 years from now. And then they will become milk cows and go into the milk line for us.
Wonderful. That sounds good. So I we have a lot of questions about the farm. So, how about we start heading on our tour here? And hopefully, a lot of these questions will be answered as we learn more about your farm. We'll say bye for now to these beautiful ladies. We'll come back to them at the end again as we do the rest of our Q&A, but we'll get a last shot here of them, and they're munching on their hay and on their feed. So, they'll still be hanging out there when we come back. But we're going to go on a farm tour next. So, Farmer Caci, well, I'll let you take it away, and we'll head off to the first spot of our tour.
All right, so we're going to start at the very beginning, where everything begins at on our farm, and that's with baby calves. And so we're going to walk over, and while we're going over, you're going to get a fun little thing that you might not get every day. Our feed truck is coming in, and he is going to deliver feed to us. You never know what day they're going to show up. So, and feed's an extremely important thing, because if we don't have the feed for the cows don't make milk, and if we don't have feed for the calves, then the calves don't grow. So we welcome them when they come, um, whatever time of day or whatever day it is.
Mm-hmm.
So
Absolutely.
he's
They're an important piece and an important additional piece to farming. You
they
would be a little bit
are
lost without them.
they are. We are very fortunate. People often think that farms are kind of, I guess you'd say, self-sufficient and don't rely on others, but we rely on so many other people in our industry, from feed truck drivers and milk truck drivers to the seed companies who we purchase seed from so we can plant silage, to the um, to the processors who actually get milk to the grocery store shelf for you. We rely on a lot of different people in in the industry to make sure that we can do our job.
Absolutely. Which means there are all kinds of careers in dairy, and not just being a dairy farmer, but there are nutritionists, there are feed salesmen like we're seeing now, there's truck drivers, there's all kinds of different careers. So if you like cows and you like the dairy industry, but you're like, I don't know if I can handle taking care of cows, because it's a very important and especially a unique job, but you can still be involved in other ways. So thank you, Farmer Caci, for kind of sharing that a little bit for us.
Yes, yes, and um, our we actually also, one of the people I didn't mention, who he might be a little upset with me, would be our vet. We work very closely with a veterinarian as well, and he comes and visits us every month to check on the health of our cows, to check on the health of our calves, and to help us if we have any problems, because there's always going to be, things that we don't expect. And that we might not be able to handle. So we have to have somebody who is a professional handle that for us.
Right. Absolutely.
So we are going to try to squeeze past our feed truck driver real quick, and he might not be as excited to be on camera.
Awesome. Well, while we're walking here, we had a question come in. Do cows, are they born with their spots, or do they grow into them?
So that is an awesome question. Yes, the calves are born with their spots, and every calf, their color pattern on their coat is just like your fingerprint. No two calves have the same color pattern, just like no two people have the same fingerprint. And so when they're born, um, you typically know what their coat pattern is going to be. You also can kind of tell if it's not a Holstein, if it's like a brown Swiss, then what if they're going to be a dark one or a light one, because they come in different shades of color.
Very cool.
So the calves have just had their morning milk. Um, they are all licking their buckets clean, and they are munching on their feed now. So every calf also gets feed that's on the hutch. They have a bucket for milk, and they have a bucket for feed. And you might notice some of the calves um, are they're all different ages. So we have some really big calves and some small calves. Um, we actually have a newborn calf that's getting its bottle right now.
Oh, oh my gosh, they are all so cute.
And you can tell they're all very curious, some more curious than others.
So
so
how
here we
long?
have,
Oh yeah, go ahead.
yes, ma'am. I was say here we have one who is always very curious and a very loving calf, um, and a little greedy too.
Oh, they look so cozy and comfortable in there, and oh, there's just a little calf. It just never gets old. They're always cute.
They're like children. They keep life interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. So how long are they in their calf hutches for before they move on to the next stage?
We actually decide based on each calf. Um, a lot of people have a set amount of time, and we kind of let the calf decide. When the calf is, um, they have to be at least 60 to 75 days old before they can leave the hutch. But sometimes you have a calf that doesn't grow as fast, or maybe they're just a smaller breed of calf. Before we can move them to a group pen, they need to be all in similar sizes. So we wait until we have 3 or 4 that are all about the same height and weight, and then we move them together. So sometimes that might mean that they are 80 days old instead of 60 days old. So we let
Okay.
them grow at their rate before we group them all together so that everybody can get the right amount of feed that they need and the right amount of water. Because if we put a little calf who's the same age as a big calf together, that calf's not going to get the same amount of feed
Right.
that the big calf is.
That makes sense. So in one of the earlier updates that we had sent out, when our adorable calves were this age, we had talked about like dehorning, or that whole process of just like, why do farmers do that, or what's your process? Do you want to just talk about that a little bit, and have these calves gone through that, or do you have polled animals, anything like that?
So we try to breed as many polled animals as we possibly can so that we don't have to do the dehorning process. Um, Most of these calves are polled, meaning that they don't have horns, or if they do, they just have tiny little nubs. And on our farm, we actually use a paste if it seems like they're going to have a nub, so that, and we do that when they're very young, so less than 7 days old, so that they uh, don't have as much of a chance of getting the paste on the rest of their body. Um, and we do it for safety.
Mhm.
We do it for safety for the farmer, but more importantly, safety for the calf. We
Right.
have a couple of older cows that do have horns that we've gotten from other places, and they present a big risk to the other cows. Um, One of them likes to use her horn to move people out of the way so that she can get more feed.
Bully.
She is. So this little calf has already been fed, but he's still very hungry. But he always has a special little surprise in his hutch. And
Oh.
we have our children have some chickens, and I can't crawl in there. I'm not quite that young, and all my children have ran away. But there it is. In the back of his hutch every day is an egg. We have a chicken who likes to lay her eggs in the hutch with this calf. He doesn't crack them. He just lays beside them and keeps them warm. I'm not sure if he's trying to hatch some chicks, but so every day we collect an egg out of the calf hutch.
Oh, that is too cute.
And he's a little upset with me because I'm stealing his egg.
He is the father hen of the egg,
Yes,
I guess.
yes. And I think that might be the hen right there who's running away behind the other calf hutch who lays the egg, because she's giving me that evil eye that
Oh my goodness, that's too funny. Hey, I guess the chicken's fine where it's comfortable and warm and safe, and it's just a testament to the homes you have for these adorable calves. It's clearly comfortable and warm and safe. So if a chicken wants to lay an egg in there, I guess it's perfect for the cows too.
they don't seem to mind, and it's quite interesting because we do find them in the hutch with the calves a good bit, and it's not just one. You'll see 3 or 4 in the calf hutch with the with the calves, especially if it's raining or if it's cold outside.
That makes sense.
So they like
Absolutely.
that warmth and that comfort that, because they are running loose, they don't necessarily have the same kind of accommodations that the calves do.
Right. Right.
And so
Absolutely.
here's a really good example of what I was talking about on size. So this little calf that's laying down is about a week and a half old. So she's about 10 days old. And if she'll stand up, you can see she's still tiny and growing. This is what your calf looked like probably when you first saw it.
Oh, oh, she's so cute.
So that calf is 10 days old, and the calf next to her, stand up. Come on, baby. Come here. If I can get her to stand up. She's like, I know you don't have a bottle. I'm smarter than that. You can see that this calf is not much bigger, and she was born March 6th. So she is 2 months old, and she's still the same size as the
Wow.
calf that's 10 days old because she is a different breed. She is a Jersey, and Jerseys are just typically smaller than Holsteins. And as sweet as she is, now, even though they're the same size, because our Jersey here is 2 months older, I still couldn't put that 10-day-old calf in with the Jersey, because she's going to be a lot stronger
Mhm.
than the 10-day-old calf. But this is why we let the calves kind of decide when they move out of the hutch, because we want them sized appropriately with their pen mates.
Right. Absolutely. That makes sense. Wonderful. Yeah, we've had a
So
lot of great conversation, and I'm seeing everyone's been loving everything you've been talking about, and we've been getting a kick out of the egg, which is just I think it's hilarious. So thank you for sharing that with us. Um, I'm looking quick. So we had a question, 5B, I'm guessing it's a class, a section class, wants to know how long does it take for the calves to fully grow and develop, and what age do they reach adulthood?
So most of our calves reach full adulthood, which means they've calved and are in the barn milking by 2.5 years of age. We don't rush our cows to get there. It is perfectly fine for them to be in that barn at 24 months of age. But for us, we found that they have longevity, which means they can be on the farm longer if we let them wait a little bit to get there. And so the calf that was born March 6th of 2021 will be in the barn at the earliest in March of 2023 and at the latest in September of 2023.
Okay.
So we kind of keep a space in there to allow them to grow at their own rate and make sure everything develops well. And then that way they can stay with us as long as they would like. Our oldest cow is our oldest cow right now, who was born and raised here, is 8 years old. She was one of the I'm certain she was one of my children's show heifers because they get lots of special attention. So
Oh,
opposite where our calves live is our lagoon, and our lagoon stores all of our wastewater for the farm. And so when that wastewater is what we get when we wash up and clean up after a milking, and it runs in a pipe and it goes into this big collection pond that actually supports a lot of wildlife. We actually have some ducks that live in that pond, in that lagoon. We have a couple thousand turtles, I'm pretty sure. It's probably not 1,000, it just seems like them. um, and lots of birds that get the insects and things that are in there who are digesting any manure might that fall in there. And then that water is able to be used to irrigate a crop. if we need to when we have a drought. If you live in South Carolina, you know that summers can be long and hot and dry. And
Mm-hmm.
so this is a way to recycle the water that we're using already.
Yeah. Wonderful.
And so we're going to walk out and see where the cows spend their days. That they've just finished up milking about 45 minutes to an hour ago. And so some of them are still enjoying their breakfast right now. And we are going to go see where they spend their days. I don't think any of them have joined us yet, but I do see a couple of them. Their new kitten. All right, can you put that up for me? So one of the things that you might have seen running around is we have lots of cats. When you when you have a dairy farm, you get lots of cats, and that means you get lots of kittens, and the children are excited. The children are excited that there are new kittens joining our family today, apparently.
Oh, that's so exciting. And actually, that brings up a good point. You mentioned you have cats. We've talked about chickens. Obviously, you have cows. And we had some folks who noticed the donkey in the background. Are there any other
Yes.
animals on the farm?
So we also, not only do we have dairy cows, but we also have beef cattle. Um, and we also have a herd of hunting dogs. We have blue ticks and English hunting dogs that our kids use throughout the year, and they are hoping to start showing them in the fall. And so that's one of those things that it gives us a break from the cows. When you see cows 365 days of the year, it is always nice to see something new.
I understand that. I can get that. And the dogs are that's a really neat addition. I don't know that I've had another farm that I've talked to that breeds and has a herd of hunting dogs. So that's very cool.
They're very interesting. They spend a lot of the night making noises.
That's funny.
So on our way to see the cows in grazing, um, you're going to pass a couple of pieces of equipment that we use to do different things. The first one is a tractor, which we use for all different kinds of things. You can see it has forks on the front, and those forks can be used for unloading and loading pallets of feed. They're used to stack hay and to move hay because we use the big round bales of hay. Um, and they're also used to we can change that out and put a bucket on front, and so we can use it to load feed for the cows. Attached to the back of the tractor is a rake, and we use this um, when we cut hay to rake it up into the big rows that you might see as you're driving down the road, so that it's easier for the baler to come through and pick up the hay. We do the same thing when we chop silage, so that the silage is in a smaller pile for the chopper to pick up. And it actually is parked right here because we just finished our spring chopping of silage on Tuesday before the
Oh.
rain hit.
Good call. Yeah, I know we've been getting a lot of rain too. Our farmers have been scrambling trying to work between the rain.
So this next piece of equipment that's not attached to a tractor is actually the cutter. So it's what goes through the field and cuts whatever grain or grass that we're using. And you can see these discs, these pieces, they rotate and they each have like a lawnmower blade on them.
Very cool.
And then last but not least by any means is the chopper tractor. And that means that this tractor doesn't get used for anything else but to pull this piece of equipment. It is this is an old silage chopper. You might not see these very often anymore, but it is just a small silage chopper. And like I said, we chop small grains. We don't chop corn silage like a lot of farms do. And so this gathers up the silage off the ground, puts it into the chute, puts it into the little teeth, and it chops it up really fine. hence why it's called a chopper. And then it goes up that spout and into the wagon. And that wagon actually dumps over so that it can empty out all of the silage that's in it.
Very cool. That's a heck of a piece of machinery, that's for sure. So you guys do all of your own crop farming? You raise all of your own crops for your cows?
So yes, so we raise all of our own silage, and we cut all of our own hay. So we spend a lot of time when we're not in the pasture with the cows, or in the milk barn with the cows. We spend a lot of our time in the field, planting and harvesting and making sure that our fields are healthy so that they grow a good crop for the cows.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. That sounds so. It's I actually, growing your own feed, I would say having a very good quality feed would make a cow smile. We had someone say that they actually completed one of our lessons. We have a lesson with Discovery Dairy called Making Cows Smile, and it talks about cow care. And they asked, how would you say a cow is made to smile? How do you make a cow smile? So I guess one thing would be feeding them a really good, high quality feed.
It is. One thing is feeding a good high quality feed. Another thing is giving them ear scratches. Some of our cows really like scratches behind the ears. And some of them really like to play in water.
Uh-huh.
We have a pond in this pasture that is fenced out, but oftentimes they like to tear down that fence and actually try to swim across the pond.
Oh my goodness.
So, and if there is a chance that there is water around, somebody is going to be standing in it, because I'm sure it cools off their legs when it gets warm. But today's a very nice day. It's 65. It hasn't even hit 70 yet. And we already have cows who are standing in the water because that is what they enjoy to do.
Oh, so they're taking a little swim, I suppose.
They are taking a little swim. And she does that every day, no matter what. It could be pouring down rain and she's still going to stand in the water. So you can see that they're all just coming out of the barn right now. They've eaten their breakfast and they're all kind of just milling around. A lot of them are up here at the water trough that's in the pasture getting fresh water. This water trough actually doesn't get filled up like the calves does, because it fills itself constantly. When they drink it down, it fills itself back up. Whereas with the calves, we fill it up for them each time. And some of them are very interested. They see the camera and us walking and they want to see kind of what's going on.
Right.
And
they want their 5 minutes of fame.
Oh, they do. And you can see we have different breeds right here. So the 295 cow that you see, that is a Holstein. And the 64 cow in the back that you might not be able to see too good right now because they are pushing her out of the way, that is a brown Swiss. And then the one next to the brown Swiss is a Guernsey. She is kind of a fawn and white color. And that is the only Guernsey we have.
Oh, so
on the
I'm glad
farm.
she came up front for us so we can see her.
She's very, very friendly. And hiding behind the little Jersey cross calf right there, or she's not a calf, she's a milk cow. Hiding behind her is number 60, who is Polly's mama.
Oh, wonderful.
And she's not quite as friendly as Polly is. She doesn't have a bad attitude, but she's definitely not one you walk up to and give a hug.
She likes her space.
She likes her space.
Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness, they look so happy out there.
So the cows spend their days in the pasture. They have this pasture, and a lot of times they go over to a larger pasture during the day, and they spend it either laying down, drinking water, or eating grass. And you can see some of them are out there eating grass in the walkway.
Mm-hmm.
And Sunshine is not sure about the camera. She's not sure that this is her cameo appearance
Yeah.
day.
Oh my goodness. So you mentioned Polly's mom. Are any of the adopted calves moms pregnant again? Are they getting ready to maybe have another calf sometime?
So Polly's mom and Melly, who is Timber's mom, will both be going on vacation. Is what we call their dry cow period in July, so that they can prepare for their next calf that will come in late September, early October.
Okay.
So both of
Wonderful.
them are expecting again, and I really thought we would see Melly up here, because she is normally very inquisitive and likes to have her ears scratched.
She likes to smile and get those ear scratches.
She does. She does. So, and you can see again, there's another jersey that's a different color, 3731. She is a different color jersey from the one we saw a little bit earlier. So they come in all shades. Just like Holsteins come in all different patterns, jerseys come in all shades.
Very cool. Now, so they came out here after they were done getting milked and then having some breakfast. Someone was asking how many hours a day do they sleep, and do they sleep out here? Do they sleep in a barn? What's that look like for them?
So our cows spend about 2 hours to 2 to 3 hours a day in the morning, or 2 to 3 hours in the morning, and then 2 to 3 hours at night up at the barn. And that means that they're getting milked and that they're eating their breakfast and their supper. And then once they are done, and they all get to pick when they are done, they come back out to either this pasture right here or the one behind us that is their grazing pasture. And they lay down and take a nap. Um, for at least, they probably rest at least, let me do my math, 15 hours a day.
Yeah, that
So
sounds about right. Wow.
they spend a lot of time resting and sleeping, and occasionally grazing. They graze early in the morning, and then they'll graze again late at night. They don't graze a lot during the heat of the day. Most of the time, you will find them taking a rest during that part of the day. And
Sure.
if you're driving down the road and you see a cow laid out in the grass or in a pasture and they are not moving, they are sleeping really, really hard. Um, we've had lots of people stop by and they're very concerned that something's wrong with the cow. She's just taking a really good nap.
Now, while we're out here with them, they were asking, they noticed the tags, and I think they noticed the tags on the calves as well, but we're really seeing it with the cows here. Do you want to just explain what the tags are for again?
Yes, so each cow has an ear tag, and that ear tag tells us who she is. So if you look through there, if you look across, you can see a cow with a yellow tag in the very back, a big black Holstein that's back there. That tells us that that cow, I can stand right here as far away from me as she is, and I can tell you that that's number 8, and that is Melody, and that's Timber's mom. So those numbers let us know who they are. They allow us to keep up with how much milk they produce, because each month we have um, a milk tester who comes in, and every cow that is milking that month has their milk weighed and sampled, and we know how much protein that cow has in her milk. We know how much fat that cow has in her milk, and we keep records with that by their number, um, because that number is unique to them. Nobody else can have that number. Whereas, just like in your class at school, there might be 2 or 3 Madisons, or maybe there's in your grade level, there's 5 Williams. Well, that would be really hard to keep up with if we had 4 cows that were all named Polly. And so each one of them has a number so that we know exactly which cow it is. And sometimes that number is also their name. That's the only thing they go by. Some
Right.
of the cows have a name. Um, and most of the time, that's a cow that is either very, very special to one of our children, or maybe she was a show calf, which means that she is registered. And so when you register a cow, you have to have a name for them. Um, and a lot of times, the names for our cows are based on who their mom is, or sometimes it's even a connection that we have, um, or that we make. So, for example, Melody is a is one of the adopted calves' moms, and we named her baby Timber because it's also a sound. Um, we have other examples of we
Ah.
have a couple of brown Swiss that have presidents' names. We have a Reagan and a Kennedy. Um, we have a couple of Holsteins like Moon Pie, who her mom was Sana. So we
Mhm.
kind of connect them. And honestly, that makes it a lot easier for me to know exactly which cow is which.
Sure. Absolutely. We have some folks asking, how long can cows live for? And maybe what's your oldest cow on the farm?
So cows in a perfect world can live for a varying amount of time from 10 to 20 years. The oldest cow we have right now, I'm looking for her. um, I want to say is 11 or 12 right now that's still milking. Now we have some other cows that are not still milking, um,
Mhm.
which means that they'll never come through the milk line again. They're just going to stay here until their days are done. That are a little bit older than that, but I think 11 or 12 right now is our oldest milking cow, and the oldest cow we've ever milked was 14.
Wow.
Um, she calved. She had 12 calves over her lifetime, and she lived to be 14 years old. And at that last time, she was just, you know, older, and she was really big, which is really hard on them.
Hmm.
When a cow is 6 feet tall and weighs 2,000 pounds,
Oh,
that's
wow.
a lot to move around.
Yeah. Wow. Oh my goodness. And it's funny, we actually had asked someone ask, can cows jump? And I'd say a big cow like that probably would have some trouble jumping, but maybe our younger ones can probably do a little bit of
You
jumping.
know, we say that, but often see our big Holsteins run across the pasture and they'll jump and they will hop around
True.
like bunnies. It's quite interesting. And I mentioned we had turtles that lived in the lagoon. Um, those turtles will actually come out of the lagoon when it rains and be moving to another pond. And the cows find them very fascinating. And when they find them very fascinating, they stick their nose down to the turtle and the turtle will snap them. Um,
Oh,
and so they jump pretty high then.
yeah, I would say so. Nature just exploring, I suppose. They're very curious animals, that's for sure. Oh my
So we're
goodness.
going to head back up to the barn
Mhm.
now. And I know that some people had wanted to see the milk barn, and I think,
Yes.
Brittany, you might have that.
Yes, we do. As I get that ready, if you don't mind just answering one more question, we had some fourth
Yes.
graders from Forts Pond. They wanted to know how much land they would need if they wanted to get a pet cow.
So if you want to get one pet cow and you live in South Carolina, you're going to need a, at least 1 acre of land. And that's going to be an acre that has really good grass on it. So it has a lot of fescue or clover in it for the cow to eat. And it's going to have irrigation in South Carolina because we don't get a lot of rain sometimes, or we don't get it at the right time of year.
Great.
So you're going to need 1 acre. You're going to need a lot of grass and some irrigation, and you're going to need some feed and some hay for the times when it doesn't rain and they don't have grass to eat.
Right. And a lot of knowledge. I would say it's not quite like a dog. There's a lot more to know about a cow and being able to take care of them. So I'll put the disclaimer out there. Though they are cute and adorable, and I know Farmer Caci loves her job, it is not something you can kind of just pick up a cow and have a pet for a little while.
No,
So
they're going to grow a lot bigger. They are cute and adorable when they're born, but that 100-pound baby quickly, within a year, is going to weigh at least 600 to 700 pounds, if not more. And that's going to be a little hard to handle. That's not exactly like your Great Dane that weighs 100 pounds when it's fully grown.
Right. Absolutely. No, I loved it. I love that you, all the students here are just so excited that, the thought of even having a cow is a lot of fun. But if you ever are interested, I'm sure there are local farms that would let you, maybe like house one at their farm or semi-adopt a real one, like that you get to actually see it. There's all kinds of programs out there, or join 4-H where you get to learn that kind of thing. So there's all kinds of ways to get involved in dairy without having to find an acre of land and and house your own cow. So what we're gonna do next is while you guys are heading back, I believe we're gonna join you back at the commodity shed, where you have a little video we're gonna show you of the milk house and the parlor area. There's really, really bad service in those areas, so we wanted to get a video prepared for you. So we're going to go ahead and show that video for you, and then we'll join Farmer Caci back over at the commodity shed. And just a reminder for you, Farmer Caci, once the video's over, just throw on your camera and your mic. Again, I'll have to turn it all off to show the video,
Okay.
but go ahead and make sure just throw it back on. That way we can join you back at the commodity shed. So we're going to go
Sounds
ahead and
great.
share that video for you here in just a minute.
Hi, and this is our bulk tank. So on a dairy farm, we have lots of different pieces of equipment, and this one is probably the most important because it holds all of the milk on the farm. When we are milking the cows, this pipe goes straight into the top, and all of the milk gets pumped right into this tank. And the milk gets picked up every 2 to 3 days, for what we do not process on farm. Let's go see. Let's go see where we milk the cows. Pick that up. So this is where we milk the cows. This is what we call a parlor or a pit, and these are our milkers. These are our milkers, and these cups come off, and these hoses carry the milk into this line, which then goes through the wall and into the bulk tank on the other side. We can milk 8 cows on each side, so 16. We also have to make sure that the cows are clean when they come in and come out. So when the cows all get in line, like they're lined up like you're going to lunch, every cow gets dipped um, with a pre-dip and a post-dip. This is the post-dip, so you can see that it's really thick and it covers my finger, and that's to protect the cow once they leave the barn and go out into the pasture, so that they stay nice and clean and don't pick up uh, any dirt or bacteria. So this is the pit. Are there any questions? Are they going to do a? I think she's going to do the.
Okay, so we are going to go ahead and show you one more video, and that will be their processing plant. So we're going to go ahead and share that one as well.
is a pasteurizer. This pasteurizer holds 30 gallons of milk. And when we're running milk in a pasteurizer like this, we have to heat it up to 145 degrees, and then it has to stay there for 30 minutes. You can see where we ran a batch of milk earlier. And all of these things are recorded so that we make sure that everything is done properly and at the right temperature. Once the milk has been pasteurized for 30 minutes, we use this big piece of equipment, which is called a chiller. And the chiller cools the milk off. So once the milk is heated to 145 degrees for whole milk, then we empty all the hot water that is in the pasteurizer, and we fill the pasteurizer with cold water to bring the temperature of the milk down. And once we've cooled the milk off, then we use this system over here to bottle the milk. One of them is a pump, and the other is a carousel that actually holds the containers that we put the milk in. And we make milk in pints and half gallons and gallons. Once the milk's cooled and bottled, it's then labeled. And this is a half gallon of chocolate milk that was made earlier this week. And it's ready to go to your home or maybe someone else's.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get Farmer Caci to join us again here. So thank you so much, Farmer Caci, for sharing with us the milk parlor and the milk barn, and a little bit about your processing. So we'll just take a second here if you want to go ahead and just, if there's anything that you wanted to cover or recap from that and share with that. I do know we had a question a while ago asking, where can we buy your milk, or do you process your own? So hopefully that answered that question. Yes, they do bottle their own, but I'll just let you go ahead and speak on that a little bit, and then we'll hop into the commodity barn.
Okay, so yes, we do process some milk on farm. We process a very small amount, and if you are local to York County or Chester County, we have a handful of about 10 different places that you can purchase it, and you can look at that up on Facebook on Nance Farm Creamery. The rest of our milk, about the other 90% of our milk, actually goes to a processor just like everybody else's milk, and it ends up on your grocery store shelf. And sometimes it actually ends up in your ice cream or your butter or your cheese, just depending on where the milk goes that day. So you have a lot of options to be able to get our milk at
That's
your
awesome.
home.
And just a quick thing I noticed on the bottle, you talked about pasteurization, but on the bottle it said non-homogenized. So do you want to just explain the difference to everyone of, the importance of the difference between pasteurization, why that's so important, and then why you wouldn't need to homogenize?
So, yes, pasteurization is when you heat the milk up to a certain temperature. For us on farm, we heat it up to a low temperature for a longer time, whereas the milk you buy in store is going to be heated up to a higher temperature for a shorter amount of time. Both of them do the same job. They just do it differently. They kill any bad bacteria that's in the milk, and they allow it to go to your home and be safe for you to consume. Because there's going to be things, just like there are germs at your school that I don't have at my house, there are going to be germs on a farm that you don't have at your house. And so this makes it safe for everybody, no matter if you live on a farm or not, to consume milk and make sure that you're going to be healthy by drinking more
Awesome.
milk.
Thank you. And I'm sure we'll have more questions come in, but we'll go ahead and hop into the discussion of the commodity barn.
Yes, well, I'll answer that
Oh,
homogenization
oh yeah,
question
sure.
real quick too before I forget it, because otherwise I'm going to lose it. Homogenization is when you buy milk in the grocery store, it's all the same. When you pour it out, it's going to be the same thing
Right.
every single time. When you do not homogenize it, that means you did not mix everything that was in the milk together. And in milk's case, that means that the cream is going to rise to the top. So the thing that you might use to make ice cream or whipped cream is going to rise to the top, and you can actually scoop it off and make your own ice cream or your own whipped cream at home. Um, Teachers, you can use it for creamer in your coffee. Whereas what you buy at the grocery store, it's all going to be mixed into that same jug together. Ours just rises to the top for you to either mix it up by hand yourself when you shake the jug, or for you to use for something else at your house. At our house, it gets into a lot
Yeah,
of coffee.
I'm sure that sounds delicious. I know as a kid we always had non-homogenized milk and just I got used to shaking my milk every time. So now when I buy regular milk in the store, I'm like, I still shake it. I still have it.
Yes, yes, it does not matter what kind of milk we have at our house. Everyone shakes it before
Right.
they drink it. So, talking about drinking milk, that is a great source of protein. But cows, once they get to be off of a hutch, don't drink milk anymore, and they still need a source of protein. And that is why we have a commodity barn where we store feeds for the cows and the calves. This is the calf's feed, and you can see, I'll scoop up a handful here. It has lots of different things in it. Um, the powdery substance is soybeans that have been ground up into a meal. And then we have some cracked corn in there to give them some extra energy. And if you look, if I can grab it and it not fall, there are some cotton seeds hulls. Cows need what we call roughage and fiber to help them digest better because they have a different kind of a digestive system from people. They have 4 compartments to their stomach instead of just one. And so that to keep their stomachs happy and to keep them functioning properly, we have to add in roughage, and that's what the cottonseed does. There are also some corn gluten and a little bit of molasses to make it sweet and yummy for the calves to eat.
Man.
So all of these things um, help to make sure that our calves grow big and strong. Um, and I think it's important for you to realize that we don't just say, hey, this is what we want in our feed. We actually have a nutritionist who sits down with us and we discuss our goals for our calves and our cows and how we want them to grow or what kind of milk we want them to produce. Do we want them to produce milk that has a higher amount of fat, or do we want them to produce more milk? And depending on what our goals are on our farm, we make a feed, or we don't, but the feed company makes a feed for us that meets our goals. So this feed, the goal is to help our calves grow at a moderate rate and help them to develop all of their systems in the best way possible. And that they get fed this twice a day. All the calves on a hutch get half a scoop in the morning and half a scoop at night. And they've ran off with my scoop because they're feeding calves. But a scoop, think about it. It's a half a scoop would be about the size of a large McDonald's cup.
Okay.
Um, and that's how much they get. And once they start cleaning that up every time between a feeding, then they get a little bit more. And we increase it until they're getting about what your adopted calves are right now is between 5 and 10 pounds a day, depending on the calf. So this is the calf feed. And we're going to step next door on the other side of our commodity barn. And our nice feed truck driver just delivered a big giant mound of cow feed. And when I say
Wow.
giant, it's really tall. And it's really pretty right now because nobody's messed with it. And in this, it has a lot of the same things, but it's ground up a little bit finer than the calf feed. So calves are still developing their stomachs.
Mhm. Mhm. I think
And
can our camera
their
lady step out of the barn a little
stomachs
bit?
aren't
I think
quite
we
ready.
there we go. I think we're just losing you a
There we
little
go.
bit being in the barn. There you go.
Yes. So our calves, and I can bring the feed out to you, our calves can't digest that silage yet quite as well until they're about the size of your adopted calves. So we have to make sure they have a complete feed. Whereas our milk cows and our older calves, a lot of times will start this about 6 to 9 months of age. use this feed to produce milk, but to also make sure they have all of the vitamins and minerals that they need in their diet. Because all of those things our nutritionists make sure gets put into that feed so that our cows are the healthiest that they can be. This feed, we don't just feed this to them. That would make them really sick if we just gave them a whole bucket of this. So we actually mix it in. They still have the mixer wagon in the barn. I was looking around for it. They mix it in with the silage, and so it all binds up together. And this, like it's coating my hand, you see how it coats my hand? It actually, because the silage is a little wet, it will wrap around the silage and adhere to it so that when a cow takes a big chomp of silage, they also get a big chomp of feed without having to eat them separately.
Gotcha. Now, and you've mentioned silage a couple of times. We actually had a question. What is silage, and what kind of turns the corn into silage? What's that process like?
Okay, so we're going to walk there now. We'll walk over to the silage pit. Like I said, we just finished chopping silage, and on our farm, that doesn't mean corn. On our farm, that means a small grain. So think a wheat or a rye. These are things that we grasses that we chop or small grains that we chop before before they've had a chance to grow all the way up and produce seeds. We don't
Okay.
want them to have produced seeds yet, because if they've done that, then they've already kind of used up all of their nutrients to finish their process.
Mhm.
So we take that silage, just like that small grains or that grass, and we chop it when it's green. Meaning that it's still nice and pretty in the field and it's green. And when it's green, that means it still has all of those nutrients still left in it. Um, just like if you were chopping corn silage, then you do it before it's fully matured, because then it would be too tough for them to eat if you wait too long.
Gotcha.
So right now we're passing some hay bales that we baled last summer that we use when there's not grass, so in the wintertime or if we have a drought in the summertime. And just beyond the hay bales is the silage pit. And you will notice when we get over there that it is covered with plastic. And the top of it has plastic on it so that it keeps all of the moisture that was in the plant stays inside of that pit. The pit is about 12 feet deep. It's definitely one of those things you don't want to fall off of. and and it so the plastic keeps all the moisture inside of those plants that we've chopped up and we've dumped in there. And the tires are in there to hold down the plastic in the wind and the rain and any storms that we might have.
Awesome. And it looks like those are just kind of old tires that are probably being repurposed, correct? They're probably tires.
They are. So those are old tires. What we do is, instead of sending tires to a convenience center or a trash dump like a lot of people might, we have stacks of them that we use to hold down the plastic, because this is what we call our big pit, and it's about half full right now. And then we also have another pit that is completely full and covered up behind this one. And I will,
That's awesome.
while you're looking at the pit, I'm going to dig down into the stack that's right here.
Okay.
And this is, like I said, we just finished up this week, so this still is going to get pushed in and covered up, but this is still wet. The top of it's dry where it's been exposed, but if you reach down in there, this is still wet and damp, and it has kind of a fresh cut grass smell to it. And the deeper you dig, the warmer it gets. So when you put this wet silage that you've chopped up into fine pieces into a big pit together, it gets hot, and that actually starts to cook it and ferment the grass or this grain that you've grown. And then that makes it a lot sweeter and a lot more desirable for the cows to eat. It also makes it easier for them to eat. We call it more malleable, but that just means it's easier to chew up. Instead of being tough, it's nice and tender.
Very cool. Very cool. So, a fermentation process, I'd be curious if anyone watching can think of another food that humans would eat that goes through a fermentation process. So, go ahead if anyone is curious about this, can you think of foods that we eat that we might eat the item before it's fermented and then we also eat the item after it goes through a fermentation process? So I'd be curious to see what you all come up with. I can think of a couple off the top of my head, but cows get to eat foods that are fermented too. So it's pretty cool that we're eating similar food, kind of in the same process as what
Same.
cows are eating.
Well, and this is grain that if it was grown out completely, actually some of the patches that we chop are in a field that we don't chop the entire field. Part of it's chopped for silage, the rest of it's allowed to grow completely, and it's used for wheat that you might find in your bread or in your crackers. So it's things that not everything we do always ends up for the cows, but most of it does.
Yeah, absolutely. And we had somebody that knew one of them. So, yeah, pickles. Pickles are cucumbers before it's fermented. And another one that I know I love because I'm Pennsylvania Dutch, but cabbage turns into sauerkraut, and that's the fermentation process as well. So, good job. Yeah, good thinking there. Awesome. So, I think, are we back up with the calves, I
Yes,
believe?
yes. The
Awesome.
calves actually live across from the silage pit. So um, they get that's probably why they end up with a little more silage than they probably should have because it's quite easy for 4 children to bring buckets over and just dump them in so that they can con the calves into giving them some attention.
Right, absolutely. Oh my goodness. So while we're hanging out with the calves here, and we're going to get ready to wrap up in about 5 minutes or so, but if we could answer a couple of questions. First of all, thank you everyone for asking such great questions. We've really loved it. I hope we've been able to answer most of them without asking them because Farmer Caci has done a great job just talking about their farm and really answering most of the things that have been coming through here, which is great. So some other questions that have been coming in. Um, I'm just looking. So, a couple people have been asking, and this is probably more towards you, Farmer Caci. What made you want to get cows and be a dairy farmer? What's kind of the reason behind you guys starting the dairy farm?
So our farm is a little unique from a lot of people in that my husband and I are both the 12th generation to be farmers. So that means back as pretty much as far as we have researched since our families came to America, there have been we have been farmers directly. Nobody's ever taken a break. we've always we've always done different things, and the dairy is a pretty different thing. I actually grew up in South Georgia, raising sheep and beef cattle, and growing up with cotton and corn and peanuts, not dairy cows. And when I met my husband in college, this is what he wanted to do. His family at the time raised beef cattle. They were running about 500 head of beef cattle at the time and lots of forage crops. But he wanted to dairy farm. And we were very fortunate that we were able to come to a partnership with my in laws. And we started the dairy farm 16 years ago, August 1st. And we started out milking cows because it was his passion and it was what he wanted to do. I'll be really honest, it was not my first love. And if any of if anybody who knew me growing up is watching, they are laughing and nodding their heads because they know I might have had some comments growing up that I would not do this. Um, but I've always loved cattle because I grew up with them, and I don't really know life without cows. Dairy cows take a little bit of getting used to because they are different from what I grew up with. But the more you're around them, the more passionate you become about them. And they actually serve, while beef cattle serve a wonderful purpose, um, and we still raise them and I still love them. Dairy cattle serve two purposes. They have the beef side of it, and they also have the milk side of it. And it's able to help us be passionate about an industry that is very giving and caring and providing a product for the world that is extremely nutrient dense and is allowing people to grow healthy, and be able to do all those things that they want to do at a really affordable price compared to the rest of the world.
Sure.
And so we are very passionate about what we do. And it is definitely anybody out there who thinks they want to be a dairy farmer, make sure you have a really long conversation with dairy farmers first. It takes lots of hours. I spend anywhere from 8 to 10 hours a day doing farm chores. 3 to 4 hours in the morning and then 3 to 4 hours at night. That includes milking, which does not end when we cut the milkers off. We still have to clean up. We still have to run washes to make sure everything is sanitized and clean so that we're not spreading any germs anywhere. Cows still have to be fed and calves still have to be fed. And those nice long vacations at the beach don't really happen for most dairy farmers. You know, we milk cows 365 days a year, twice a day. That means even on the weekend and even on Christmas, even on Easter, 4th of July,
your birthday,
your birthday, you know, cows have to be milked. It but it's such a fun job too, because how many other places do you actually get to work with your entire family every day?
Right.
You know, every day I get to milk and work alongside my husband and my children and my in-laws. And so it makes a very strong family bond that you're not going to get in a lot of other professions.
Sure, absolutely. I know we saw a couple cameos of some of your kids in the videos and today. So they clearly are big helpers on the farm as well. And it's really a family affair to make it all happen and just make sure those cows are being well taken care of. Now, you mentioned a little bit about cows getting milked twice a day. And I know we were in the parlor and got to see a little bit about that. We just had some questions about that a little bit more. So, you know,
Okay.
what's that feel like for a cow? I think we had this covered. It was about 5 to 7 minutes that it takes for a cow to get milked. So really, they're only in there for a half hour max for the whole day, and the rest of the day they get to lay around and do nothing. That's a life. If I have anything to
I
say.
mean, it is a pretty nice life. You know, somebody brings you all the food you want. There's all the water you want to drink. You get to lay around in the sunshine and just relax and take a nap when you want to. Somebody's always there if something happens to make sure that you're taken care of, even if it means that they don't get to eat. You know, that person doesn't get to eat. They're going to make sure that you're taken care of first. My kids can tell you the story of, you know, missing a really good dinner because mama burned it because she had to go back out and take care of a calf or help daddy with a cow. So the cows always come first. And the question about how it feels to be milked. So if you've ever, I'm trying to think the best comparison, a vacuum.
I was gonna say, I think I've heard people say a vacuum before.
A vacuum. So when you have the hose on the vacuum, and you might stick it to your hand or to your finger, it feels somewhat similar, but not quite as strong as the vacuum that you use on your floor. And that vacuum, whereas the vacuum on your floor just continuously pulls, this one pulls and then releases, because a cow is not going to milk if you're just pulling. You've got to pull and release, and that's what it feels like to be milked. And very few of them find it extremely uncomfortable. Most of them actually just stand there and enjoy it.
Yeah, it's very relaxing for them. And if we have any mothers that are on the call with us, or that are your teachers, if you've had a child, you know, if you don't nurse when it's time to nurse, you're feeling it. So, you know, these ladies are the exact same way. It's just part of being a mama cow, and it's very normal and natural. Absolutely. And I believe that release and pull and release and pull is meant to mimic what a calf would be like, because that's what's natural, is that a calf, it's that suckling motion. Same thing with the human, you know, very similar things. So the machine is meant to be a replication of that. Perfect. Let's see. We had some other good questions. So let me just look here quick. So they were just recapping. They asked how long you've been farming. So I think you had said 16 years. Is that correct?
So we've been dairy farming 16 years.
You're right. Correct.
My husband and I got married 16 years ago, and we started milking cows 15 days after our wedding.
Oh my
But
goodness.
we've actually been farming our entire life, both of us.
Wonderful. We had someone asking, so we saw all of that processing equipment when you actually process the milk. What does all of that cost? Like, what was that kind of investment for you guys? And you don't have to get into specific details, but what was that investment for you guys? And actually, why did you decide to process your own milk?
So those are very good questions. And the answer to that is the investment in time is probably more the investment than money. It takes a lot of time on the front end to organize it, to plan it, and to actually execute setting up an on-farm creamery, because there's a lot of regulations and laws that you have to meet, and you have to use a specific type of equipment. It costs approximately $50,000 to get started in bottling milk on your own farm, to account for buildings and equipment and all the other things that you would need to make sure that you're meeting the requirements of your state. But again, time is probably more. We did it so that we had multiple sources of income. Right now, we are just doing a very small amount of milk being processed on farm. So most of our milk is still going to the grocery store that you might go pick up this evening. And it allows us to, if something happens and they cannot pick up the milk, we still have a way to market our milk. It also gives people a source of very local milk. We do not sell milk with outside of about a 30-mile radius of our house. So when we say local milk, we mean in the same area that we are in.
Right.
Whereas local milk in the grocery store is probably from a little bit further away. Our milk is that we ship off farm is still processed in South Carolina, but it might go to Charleston or Myrtle Beach, not just to York County.
Right. So if anyone does live local to Farmer Caci and to Nance Farm, make sure you're checking out to see where you can pick up some of their milk. And I believe you guys have beef as well, or
we don't sell beef off
oh, okay.
farm. We raise beef cattle, but those all go to a stocker.
Gotcha.
We don't actually sell meat off farm. We
Okay.
partner with some folks who do.
Oh, very cool. So you do have your milk. So I encourage you to support your local farmers, especially if you live near them, and get some really good chocolate milk and plain milk. And what are different things you process to wrap up here? What are different things you guys process on the farm?
So right now on the farm, we just do whole milk and chocolate milk. Chocolate milk is by far the favorite of most people in the area because, well, who doesn't like chocolate milk? It's got chocolate and it's nice and thick. It's almost like chocolate ice cream. So that is, and we do that in different sizes. So we do it in an individual size, and then in a half gallon you can take home and share with your family.
Wonderful. Farmer Caci, thank you so much. I know we actually have a number of questions still, and things were just coming in really great. So we went ahead and did a couple of the answers in the chat for you all. The ones we weren't able to get to, but I hope you enjoyed today and was able to just really learn a lot about Nance Farm and of course get to see your adopted calves. They've gotten so big. Farmer Caci, thank you so much for sharing these calves with us, sharing your farm with us. We learned a lot of ways of how not only do you support your family and take care of your cows, but you support the community and the economy by contributing to that with your local business. You work with all kinds of people, milk tester to nutritionist to vet, and supporting all of those communities and businesses. And then, of course, good for our environment. You recycle the tires, you recycle water when you're in the milking process. There's all sorts of really great ways that you're taking care of our waterways and just being really good stewards of the land. So thank you so much to everything you do. And I know everyone has just been really loving everything we had to learn today, and we are seeing some thank yous come across as well. So we really appreciate this experience. And if you have any last minute words to say before we turn off for the day.
Yes, I just want to say a big thanks to Brittany and her team at Discover Dairy, and of course the Dairy Alliance, and Michaela, who none of you can see because she's behind the camera. They have all been a huge help in getting this information to you. And thank you for all of you for joining us and wanting to learn more about dairy cows and dairy in South Carolina. We greatly appreciate each one of you, and we hope that if you have any questions, you'll feel free to message us. But remember, we're working, so it might take me a little while to get back to you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, everyone. It's been fun. This will be recorded, so you can come back and check out Moon Pie and Polly and Timber and Liberty anytime you want during this video. So feel free to come back and watch the recording. And thank you again, Farmer Caci, and everyone that helped make this possible today. Take care, all.